Spring 2012, and I was assembling the film and reflecting on my graduation from dunce to D-grade Swifter. The Swift issue was simple, a loss of nesting sites resulting from modern building practices. The practical solution, a cinch, at least theoretically. Build with nesting bricks. If chronic swift fever has been diagnosed, modify your home to accommodate them, or simply just add a cheap as chips nesting box. The problem, getting people to care in sufficient numbers to halt the decline, which is real, and to those who care, frightening. The opportunity to make people, the young and the not so young, aware of the issue and the easy peasy solutions. Perhaps to connect them with the thrill of an actual swifting experience. To get people in numbers to show their greatness in putting right problems that are wholly ours in the making. Then, maybe, just maybe, that almost spiritual connection William finds in the other Swifters' experience won't be lost forever. Before long it was May, and as William had described, I heard the Swifts before I saw them. It was Chris pressing play on some new, all-digital Swift-attracting gadget which made his poor old CD player redundant. One early evening, driving back from Bicester North Station, I approached Chesterton and thought somehow I'd made a wrong turn. Something like a small town was being built alongside Chesterton that made further mockery of the Ragtop's precious 1958 roadmap. Chris told me nesting bricks were being inserted in some of the buildings by the developers as part of Sue's action plan. But I felt glum, imagining how this new eco-village would register on the Swifts' million-year-old sat-nav. To cap it all, a friend lent me a copy of a book written by a friend of his, Michael McCarthy, called Say Goodbye to the Cuckoo. I had not seen the bigger picture at all. It seems the Swifts not the only household name on the way out. Julian had mentioned the cuckoo, and like a proper dunce, I'd not even looked it up. And suddenly I asked myself, when was the last time you heard a cuckoo? I reckoned on 10 years. Then I dashed to check out the RSPB Red List. There's a set of criteria you can browse at the website, but I can tell you it includes population decline of over 50% in the past 25 years. So that's over half gone since Starship topped the charts with Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. Depressed? And I don't mean by the song, it's worse. If you're a Swift, loss of nesting sites is the big problem, of course. Now take a look at the farmland around you. Our agricultural practices have changed so dramatically in the past few decades. Environments some of these birds thrived in have simply vanished completely. Not all birds are as adaptable as the Swift. But there's worse to come, and I can thank Michael McCarthy for drawing this knell of doom to the equation. Something American botanists coined as shifting baseline syndrome. It goes like this: what you experience as a child, you see as the norm. So if you grow up hearing cuckoos in the night, then that's the norm. If you don't, then that's the norm. So the baseline of what we see as acceptable is shifting. And when something disappears that made precious little impression on your childhood perceptions, you'll hardly miss it. And in a busy world, you won't care. There was the truth. It's like our sensibilities are being eroded and we don't even notice. And there was Chris Mason's norm, those spirit-lifting sounds of a dawn chorus that he and his sister had shared with their father, diminishing year on year. And finally, thank you, Mr. McCarthy, I realised I had not asked the right question. I should not have been asking, how do you feel when the Swifts leave? It should have been a crueler one. How would you feel if they never came back? Because that devastating question is what we should each be asking of ourselves, not just of Swifts, but of all those birds on the red and amber list, of bats and fish and moths and goodness knows what else. Later in May, the truth came closer to home. In the Ragtop, ploughing a few more kilograms of carbon into the Oxfordshire air, at one with the familiar smells of leather, vinyl and Castrol GTX. I stopped by the University Museum, which, any C grader could tell you, is the home of none other than the dodo. A relic in worse shape than Jocelyn's dried up swifts, and a plasticky model. Who knows how these creatures enrich their environment? We'll never know, and really, how many of us care? How many more relics of lost species would this esteemed building hold in time? I spoke to Julian, who was anxious with the cold, wet weather, which I'd dismissed as a climatic blip. There was no sign of his swifts. But then, a little later than usual, they were back. The sounds in the sky were real in South Newington and all over this corner of the world. I went to see Chris and asked him for some good news, and he had quite a lot actually. Chris, as you now must realise, is an optimist. Numbers overall were down, but several new sites had been found, including one in Bicester. Sandra had had a baby, and they were doing fine. Roy had been awarded an Unsung Heroes Award in recognition of his dedication to the Oxford Swifts project. Edward, still sporting the trademark shirt, no doubt, had been interviewed by the BBC about declining numbers, and a Swifts in Peril item had made third spot on the 7 AM news on the Chris Evans show. It was a good thing that the bad news was finally getting some airtime. Jocelyn had confirmed a swift nesting site in Oxford's Wellington Square, and Chris had a present for me, which I felt more than half inclined to attach to the gable end of our house. Respectable numbers were being reported with most of the swifters despite the bad weather, and then I got a call to visit Chris Poles. I could barely believe it, all that chiselling and banging had paid off. My wife and daughter came along too, and Chris sat there explaining to Katie that the parents of these swifts had come all the way from Africa, just as he had as a child, and Afro too, I thought, and that these babies would soon be off there as well. And then I got in the ragtop, ejected another few kilograms of carbon along the perfection of the B4030, a slipstream through a slice of Platonia. Fleetingly, I pondered the meaning of the word biodiversity, the interconnectedness of things and good old James Burke, and stopped for just a few frames to take in one short breath of this paradise on earth.